Here we will see try except statement in Python. Python uses try and except keyword to handle the exceptions. Both keywords are followed by indented blocks. First see try except. General syntax for try and except is try, then colon, then statements in try block and in except, and statements that are executed when error in try block. Where try block contains one or more statements which are likely to encounter an exception. If the statement in these blocks are executed without an exception, the subsequent except block is skipped. And next is except block. If the exception does occur, the program flow is transferred to except block. The statements in the except blocks are written to handle the cause of the exception appropriately. For example, returning an appropriate error message. For example, if we have written this code, inside try block we have defined a as 5, b as 0 and will print a divided by b, and in except block we will print some error occurred, and outside the try block we will print out of try except block, and when we execute this code it will give the output some error occurred and out of try except block, since we are trying to divide by 0 to 5. Next is try except except. There may be multiple except clauses with different exception types in a single try block. You can mention a specific type of exception in front of the except keyword. The subsequent block will be executed only if the specified exception occurs. If the type of exception doesn't match any of the except block and if default except block is executed. If the default except block is not defined, the exception will remain unhandled and the program will terminate it. General syntax is try, then statements in try block, except with exception type 1 and the statements to be executed when exception type 1 error is occurred, then except exception type 2 and the statements that are executed when exception type 2 error occurs, and then default except and the statements to be executed when exception type 1 exception type 2 does not match with the exceptions. Here try block contains one or more statements which are likely to encounter an exception. If the statements in these blocks are executed without an exception, the subsequent except block is skipped. Next is except block with exception type. If the exception occurs and the program flow is transferred to the except block, depend on the type of exception, control is transferred to except block. If the exception type doesn't match any of the except block, it will remain unhandled and the program will terminate. And the default except block must come after all the except block that catch specific errors. Otherwise, Python will raise an error. For example, try. Inside try block, we have defined the variables a, which is initialized with 5, b is initialized with 0 of string type, and if we give print a plus b and will print a plus b, and inside except block we have defined the type error, and if this type of error occurs it will print type error occurred, and we have defined except block and we have defined default except block which will print some error occurred. And outside the try block we have printed out of try except block. When we execute this code, it will give the output type error occurred and out of try except block. Since a is of integer type and b is of string type, it will give type error.